Okay.
So, for those of you from here, from Baltimore, I'm sure you are very familiar with Kai Jackson and his long history serving Baltimore as a journalist. Currently, he is the co anchor of the evening news at WBFF TV Fox 45, where he's worked for 11 years. But before that, he was an anchor and reporter at WJZ TV for 20 years and 8 months. Has worked in television for 38 years in several cities, covering local, national, and international news and stories for affiliate and network television news. Kai has produced, directed, and filmed two documentaries and is a 5 time Emmy Award winner. He is a former president of the Association of Black Media Workers of Baltimore and a member of several professional organizations like the NABJ and Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. Tonight, we'll talk to Kai about his new endeavor, Blackyard Grill, a multimedia storytelling platform that highlights culture, business trends in the Black community through short narrative and documentaries, as well as some of his other creative endeavors. So again, Kai, welcome so much. It's so glad to have you. I'm finally excited to get to have you live after our many conversations. So to start off, tell a little bit about. I want to start off with where we met because I think that
Yeah.
is a key antidote to sort of where you are in your storytelling journey right now. And I
Yeah.
don't actually quite remember why you were at the Black Wall Street Expo last fall.
Yeah.
And so tell the folks a little bit about how we met.
That's an interesting story. So, for those of you watching, listening, Stephanie and I have a mutual friend named Jackie Cummings, and I'm in awe of this woman, just like I am with Stephanie. But Jackie is a person who is humbly committed to community building. Did I get that right, Stephanie?
You got it right.
Would you,
You got it
would you say
right.
it any better than that?
I think that was a
Community
very
building.
astute observation around Jackie Cummings.
She,
Yes, a
she's
humbly
amazing.
committed activist and advocate for
Yeah.
Black youth, education, entrepreneurship, financial stability. Wonderful woman. Jackie and I just actually had breakfast a couple days, no, last Saturday at Kay's
Okay.
over there
Okay.
on the corner on 25th, down there. And yeah, definitely would agree. But go and continue.
Yeah, and so, folks, while I'm at this event, essentially Black Wall Street is, and I'm sure Baltimore isn't the only place, but this is Jackie's effort in collaboration with businesses, small and large. Jackie's effort to kind of foster a sense of community, of Black community, because I think what you see where Black Americans are concerned, and this is something I say so we have to be able to talk about African Americans prospering without it being offensive to other people. Does that make sense, Stephanie?
Yes.
So, in fact, our prosperity is a good thing for I think for the entire country, just like any group would be. And so that's what Black Wall Street is. We see individuals doing well individually. What we don't see is group economics, something Dr. Claude Anderson talks a great deal about, people working together in a collaborative effort.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are a number of reasons for that. We can talk about that later. But Jackie's there. So she had invited me to this, I think, a year, 2 years prior, and I didn't get a chance to come out. And
Yeah,
on
I think
this day, I
she's on
said, you know what?
her
I'm going to
ninth
come out.
expo. Yeah, I think this is the
Yeah,
ninth year.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm going to come out this year. So I come out, and lo and behold, I meet Stephanie Henderson and her phenomenal husband, Raphael. And in the process of meeting them, everybody, then I meet this amazing young author named Stefan Folks, who's written this great book, Project Black. And Stephanie and Raphael represent him. And so what has happened in that time, and Stephanie, I hope you aren't overwhelmed by this, but Stephanie and Raphael have essentially been mentors to me because what I'm working on even though I may have age on them and experience in what I'm doing, they're doing something that I want to do, and that's be a full-time writer. The storytelling part, video-wise, yeah, that's definitely my kind of my lane.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But in terms of book writing, that's something I've always wanted to do. And I got a really fun story to share with you, Stephanie, a little later in our conversation. But that's essentially how we met. I don't want to, belabor the point. We met at
Mm-hmm.
Black Wall Street, and since that time, Stephanie has been amazing at trying to help me achieve the goals that I told her I want to achieve. And I want to thank her and Raphael for both their help, their mentorship, and just their encouragement. For
Thank you
you
so much.
writers out there who are watching this today, I want to let you know because my wife always tells me she believes, and I'm saying this humbly because you can't joke about things like this, but my wife sometimes believes I have attention deficit disorder because my brain, I have one of those brains that's active and it goes all over the place. But I'm a creative. I write with my left hand, and that's what we creatives do. We can be all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie talked about accountability, and that was exactly the word I needed to keep focused on my writing. She's mentioned this word to me a number of times, and I needed that. I needed that person in my life too, who is encouraging me to write, but also talked about accountability for making sure you write. Two people I'm big fans of. Walter Dean Myers is somebody who has passed away, but was a phenomenal children's author and wrote some adult books as well. But I kind of model myself after him because I'm trying to write YA, which is young adult novels. In fact, I was telling my co-anchor yesterday, Mary Bubala, on the set. Mary's like, "What are you interested in writing?" And I said, "YA, young adults is the category I'm interested in." And I think that range is basically like 12 or 13 to what, Stephanie, maybe 17 or 18, right?
Yeah, so about that.
So
But it
he's
ranges
with
because
Walter.
grown-ups,
Yeah.
the thing about YA, the
Yes.
best YA,
Uh-huh.
adults like it too.
And that's what I've heard that,
Uh-huh.
which is interesting, which also puts some pressure on me to make sure I'm not, writing something that adults wouldn't enjoy as well. I want to make sure that a plethora of people focused on young people, but making sure that I don't write it so simplistic that adults wouldn't enjoy too. And the other person I really admire is Walter Mosley.
Yes.
I read his book. Let's see if I have it here. Yeah, I got it right here.
Oh,
So
look, you're gonna make me go. You're gonna make me run to my shelf, Kai.
here we go.
Here,
So,
you
Steph, you're
talk
gonna laugh.
about Walter Mosley. Let me go see if I can find mine while you talk to the
Go
folks
ahead.
about him.
So, Walter, I read this book last year. This is Walter Mosley's. This year, you write your novel. So, Stephanie, I know you're listening. Here's the
I'm
thing.
listening. I can hear
I
you.
read, I read this last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't write my novel last year. So we're gonna let 2025 be the year I write my novel. I started writing it, but I'll just say I didn't finish writing it. So that's where we are. But Walter's book was really encouraging. This book is, I'm looking at it. This is 90. All right, 100 103 pages. That's it. It's 103 pages. You can also find Walter Mosley on Masterclass if you wanted to watch that. Spike Lee is on there, Samuel Jackson, a number of phenomenal people. But he's essentially saying you want to write every day. And
Yes.
I think I told Stephanie this story. There's a sci-fi writer I found by happenstance on a podcast named Michael Stackpole. And I'll never forget this line. And he attributed this to the writer E. Jean Carroll, who wrote for, I think, Vogue, was an editor. But the line was, talent is for amateurs. And it's powerful when you think about it. What this is about is you have to sit down and work on your craft every day.
Yes, you do.
Anybody can have talent. The question is, are you going to be committed to what you're doing? In fact, in the podcast, Michael Stackpole says he's known a lot of average writers, but who are just committed to craft and they write the heck out of everything they do. And that's the space I want to move in. So that's me.
And so getting into that space, you do it often when it comes, because today we're talking about community journalism. Shortly after our interview, Donnie Glover of BeMoreNews.com will be here at
Yes.
1 o'clock to continue the conversation.
Okay.
And you're doing this community journalism on the ground, on the beat, sort of reporting every day. If you follow Kai Jackson Writes, you'll see some of his reporting when it comes to just things that he stumbles upon on his life while he's strolling around. And that sort of passion for storytelling is inherently in you in almost everything that you do, right? Where did that passion begin? Where did that spark begin, sort of first? And when did you realize it was something that you wanted to commit to professionally, as a business, as something to sustain you and your family? So those two moments, when did it first begin, and when did it really sort of tip over into this is me?
That's a great question. The earliest I did not know I wanted to be a journalist ever since I was 5 years old. I said this to somebody recently. When I hear people say that, I think they're lying. And that's a terrible thing to say, but I'm just speaking for myself.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's no way I knew that. When I was in high school in Prince George's County,
Hmm.
we had a television class.
Hmm.
There was actually a studio in our high school, and I graduated in the 80s. So my high school was one of the first, probably the first magnet school in the county,
Oh,
in Prince
okay.
George's County. I was not in that kind of program for magnet students. I tested, but I didn't make it in there. What I tell people all the time, though, was I got the benefit of all these phenomenal teachers that they brought to that school. So I
Hmm.
was lucky in that regard. I didn't realize it. That television course, which was production, anchoring, directing, we had equipment, everything, things that you would find in a regular television studio in a microcosm, right?
Wow. Yeah.
That studio,
Hmm.
that experience, my teacher, it laid the seeds, the groundwork for where I was going to head. And I didn't even think about it. When I got to college, I went to an HBCU, South Carolina State, in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Go Bulldogs. I started majoring in engineering. Bad decision because I'm not a math guy. I've
That's like
always
me
loved
trying to go
reading,
into business in the beginning.
right?
Oh no.
Yeah, I was thinking about money, and it wasn't a good decision. Got out of engineering, got into English as a major. Well, why didn't you get into journalism? We were a small school at that time. We didn't have a journalism major. What we did have though was a school yearbook, newspaper, and again, I got involved with that. We
Hmm.
had a media club on campus. It was called Tempo. And in Tempo, I would go around the campus with a photographer and ask people what you thought about this event, that event. I'll give you an example. And I'm not sure if I did this for Tempo, but I remember vividly when the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
One of the most devastating, days, obviously, in our nation's history and the space history of the space program in America.
Hmm.
We had South Carolina, calling it we, had a astronaut on board, Ronald McNair, who was from Lakeland or Lake City, South Carolina. And so that was a very, very big deal, in addition, obviously, to
Wow.
the other um, astronauts who were on there as well, who we think about.
Hmm.
But Tempo, I would get a microphone with the photographer and go around and do that. And then I think once a week, maybe on Fridays,
Hmm.
we would show the students the interviews we did with them and the stories we put together in the student center. Again, laying the seeds, the groundwork. Now, here was the key for me. What changed everything was when I started working for my college radio station, WSSB. We're South Carolina State Broadcasting.
Hmm.
That was the radio station. It was great. Um, a news anchor from Columbia, South Carolina. Columbia is about 40 miles northwest of Orangeburg.
Hmm.
Came down to speak to our media club, our radio club, I should say, the radio station, and her name was Sabino Sandifer. I was so impressed with her, I pulled her aside and said, "Would it be possible for me to get an internship at your TV station?" And I look back
Put
and I
yourself out
realize
there.
now,
Yep.
and this was so characteristic of me, and I'm going to share something with folks. I still do that today.
Yes, you
I
do.
didn't know. I still do it today. I
Yes.
reach out to people when I see them on Instagram, on Facebook. Hey, I'd like to chat. I've made a number of professional friends in that way, and just friends because I see people doing things either that I want to do or that I want to do stories about. And Sabino said, "Okay, let's see if we can work it out." The station, she had to get permission from her station. They agreed. The college agreed. My English department agreed to. They said we could, I can do it. They wanted to make sure I got some credit for it.
Hmm.
So the bottom line is I got some credit for it. And for 6 months, I drove from Orangeburg to Columbia on the weekends, and it's 40 miles one way in my 1975 Pontiac Le Mans
Get it
on
done.
my dime.
Get it done.
And I'm going to tell you what happened after that 6 months was up, and I finished my internship. No awards or anything like that, but I had done some learning. That landed me my first job
Hmm.
out of college because I graduated that following year um, in Charleston, South Carolina. And I started working at a TV station called WCSC TV. That was my first job. But I wouldn't have gotten that job, Stephanie, had I not gotten that internship. And
Hmm.
I wouldn't have gotten the internship had I not taken the initiative um, to talk to Sabino. And she today is like my big sister. She now teaches
Wow.
at Texas Southern in Houston, Texas. She's a professor there. Another good friend who's from my college, Arthur Fennell, is like a big brother to me.
Hmm.
I met him while I was a college student at South Carolina State. He was working in Savannah, and while I was working for the yearbook and newspaper staff, I'd written a story about blacks in prime time. It was kind of like an op-ed piece, and I've said we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. At that time, I was talking about the Cosby Show, the Jeffersons, and all that, and how these shows have, in one sense, helped Black America in terms of jobs and some progress, but
Hmm.
some of it was demeaning as well. It kind of depends on what you were talking about.
Hmm.
But Arthur was there at this event speaking as a journalist, found out I was from South Carolina State, and of course, kind of wanted to take me under his wing because he had graduated from there.
Hmm.
Once he moved on from WSAV, a weird thing is I ended up working at that station about
That's
2 or 3 years later.
yeah. I
He
have a
today, yeah, it's crazy, right?
yeah.
And so the day I met you, I called him while I was at Black Wall Street, just
Mm-hmm.
checking in with him.
Hmm.
He's gotten out of journalism and he's now professionally, he's now in South Carolina, which is where he was, born and raised. And actually, I think he's in Atlanta, but he goes up to South Carolina a lot because his relatives are there. And he basically does videos on hunting, fishing,
Oh,
doing all things outdoors, barbecuing. And it's a show called Country Style. And so those two people, Arthur Fennell and Servino Sandifer, are key to me being where I am today. They are dear, dear friends. Yeah.
country style. I'm gonna look that up after the show. Outdoorsman.
Country,
That's pretty
look up
cool.
Country Style.
Yeah, I'm
He
gonna look
would
up country
definitely
style.
appreciate that. Yep. And we're good. He and I plan to collaborate at some point.
Of course, you should. You definitely should. Especially, I remember we'll talk about this off air. In one of the
Okay.
descriptions around the show today, I talk about liming. And I don't
Yes.
know if you're familiar with that, Kai,
I'm on.
but it's a Caribbean tradition to it's basically their version of a cookout. It's outside. It's usually down by the river on the
Oh,
bank, and you bring
okay.
food, you chill out, you bring drink, and you just have a good
I love
time.
it.
And speaking of which, and these sort of close to home stories, because I want to get into Yard Grill, but before we make the switch from, what your legacy and then what's coming for the future for Kai, I want to talk about Baltimore itself and the importance, at least for me, and I want to get your understanding of it as well. The vital nature of community journalism
Yeah.
to our city, especially because we're a city of neighborhoods,
Yes.
and how not only is it up to the journalists getting out there and reporting the cultural stories and the events and the ongoings of going for neighborhoods. One of my favorite community and neighborhood reporters is Jasmine Vaughn Hall with the Baltimore Banner.
Okay.
Um, and she's actually done some great reporting on my Baltimore neighborhood of Hose Heights.
Oh,
And
nice.
you're in your neighborhood, you're in the city neighborhoods. We met each other while you were
Yeah.
walking down on 25th Street.
Yeah.
um, where have you found sort of Baltimore's charm? We are known as, quote, Charm City, and we've been called the city of neighborhoods. And I think that is not mutually exclusive, right? I think that's
Right.
puts the charm in Charm City. Tell us one or two of your fondest stories that really put the charm in Charm City.
Yeah. That's a great question. I think stepping out your door, you'll find the charm. I'll credit you. I'll credit Jackie with being a part of the fabric of Baltimore.
Hmm.
Years ago, I would say maybe in the late '90s, I had a chance to interview the widow and daughter of a well-known local jazz musician named Mickey Fields, and he was a part of that fabric and charm in Baltimore. He was a Baltimorean. He used to play at a place I think called the Sportsman's Lounge, which was off of Liberty Heights Avenue. It was real popular. I don't think it's there anymore, but that to me, that's classic Baltimore. If you go to Remington, if you've been in the Remington area,
Hmm.
you know about our house, of course, Stephanie, right?
Yep, yep.
That is,
Right across the street, I think Greedy Reed's
yep,
bookstore. Yep. Hmm.
absolutely. That's Baltimore to me. Now, it's funny. I talked to somebody recently who did not have a good experience at our house, and so what I acknowledge is we don't all necessarily have the same experiences in life, but I think we can all appreciate an effort to try and continue to move the city forward.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
Baltimore is a Baltimore's a complicated place. There are a lot of social ills and problems that the city is dealing with, not unlike any other city in America.
Hmm.
It's dealing with historic oppression and disinvestment in certain neighborhoods, and that has an effect. And we can go out to nice restaurants and we can put paint on things and just and maybe pretend like those things didn't happen, but we do ourselves and we do those people who are affected a disservice by doing that.
Hmm.
I don't think looking the other way or ignoring those problems are going to make them go away. Acknowledge them. Let's figure out a way to fix those things that are broken, that aren't working, and let's continue to move on. But we need to lift up more people. We can't be a society that simply sees people as well. Those people are gonna they're not interested in doing anything. They're not gonna get it. It's funny. I had a friend. I was talking to her about not just Black Art Grill because she supports that, but just about helping, particularly young men. And I'm in
Hmm.
a couple of organizations. You mentioned Kappa Alpha Psi. There's a good friend of mine in town uh, named Cameron who runs a program called uh, Mentoring Black Males in the Hood, Team Black Males in the Hood, named Cameron Miles. He's been doing that almost probably about 30 years.
Okay.
And, the friend we were talking about issues, and again, this is not a slam on her, but you know what she said to me? She said, you know what, Kai, you can't save everybody. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
You remember seeing the second Iron Man?
I don't remember it entirely, and if the fella is not around right now, he is at work, and so he would be
So,
shamed
so
that
Raphael's,
I cannot
I'm gonna,
talk
I'm gonna share
intelligently
this,
about it.
I'm gonna share this part with people watching. So in the because I love movies, and so I'll use movies as an analogy sometimes because like poetry, they can be a metaphor for life, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So this Air Force One broke apart, and people were just like falling out of it like dominoes. And so Tony is going down, and he's asking Jarvis, that's his computer system in his suit, how many are there? He's like, there's 14. How many can you say? How many can we save? It's like, oh, I don't know, maybe about 8, maybe 9. He's like, no, that's not acceptable. We're going to save them all. And that's where I am. I just the idea that we can't help everybody is not acceptable to me.
And
I'm not going.
I would agree with that collectively. It's I'm going to digress for just a minute because this
Yeah.
reminds me of a conversation. I frequent cafes a lot when I'm
Yes.
mobile, and I just sometimes I need to get away from the desk and even just to focus. And
Right.
there's a cafe that I frequent. I'm not going to say where it is because I go live
Okay.
from there often. I don't want the crazy showing up. And but there's a group of fellas, they're boomers,
Okay.
and there's a one guy who's about maybe a little younger than me from Morocco, right? And
Okay.
they sort of folded me into their fellas group,
That's nice.
and it is an interesting conversation. They sort of warned me with two of them that are very right wing. One of them is
Okay.
Stephanie. One guy labeled him as even quote implorable and disgusting, and I was like, oh.
Wow.
So I'm not stuck in the cafe, but I'm in the cafe and I'm
Right.
with this one.
Okay.
And he is with another guy that I've seen in the group, and we speak and we say hello. Well, I'm always speak to everybody that we
Right.
walk through the cafe. And he's getting frustrated with his computer. And I hear what he's getting frustrated about, and I feel like he's about to break his laptop. And so I just look and I'm like, you need help? And I'm like, this is like biker dude, bald head, like shades, glasses on, even like
Right.
not approachable, right?
Right.
And I'm just like, I have an experiment. And I'm like, do you need help? I wanted to converse with him. I really wanted to hear
Right.
his ideas because, quite
Right.
honestly, I have not had the capacity nor the energy, spiritually or mentally, to have a calm conversation with a strong Trump supporter, right?
Right.
And that day, I did. And we
Okay.
have this
How'd it go?
conversation, and it ended in with it's he has the privilege to not care about everybody else, right?
I see.
The
Right.
means to the
Right.
end do not matter because
Right.
he does not have to worry about everyone else. And
Right.
that's what I conclude. I was like, you are sitting from a place of a privileged white man, that
Yeah.
you are able to make those kinds of choices or decisions and have those opinions because you don't have to carry by everyone else. I'm a Black woman. It is in
Right.
me. Like,
Right.
I cannot worry about who's going to get left to the wayside. We are we are a country of means. Why aren't, like,
Right.
in a supposedly a Christian nation,
Right.
we help because we can, right?
Right.
And so just so that I agree with you, right? It is, yes, we will strive, even if we don't make that goal, but you must strive
Right.
to
But you
save
strive.
everyone.
You keep trying to do
Yes,
it. Yeah.
yes, and
Yeah.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that.
What if it was your relative or my relative on the side of the road
Mm-hmm.
bleeding?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't look like I can help that person, but maybe somebody will come along and do it. Can I go back and check on them? Can I
Exactly.
call for an ambulance or something? And that may be a kind of a simplistic example I'm giving, but my point is my point. You
Yeah.
know, and did you? How did he respond to your intervention?
It didn't get through to him that day, but you find common ground. By the end of it, all six of us agreed that we hate New York in a way, not hate it, but in a but in a
I
way
love it.
that we would never want to live there. Don't get me, I love New York. You know, I have my New York mug. Jaden, my teenager, is in New York all the time, so y'all don't attack me in the comments. That's not what I mean. But look, I'm firmly a girl that lives south of the Mason-Dixon line, and is a little bit too fast for me to set down roots. But
You know what's funny about what you just said? I
uh-huh.
think, and I haven't visited the world. I've seen some cities outside of the United States. I
Yeah.
think New York has got to be among the greatest cities in the country. In the world. I love visiting it. I would never live in New York. And I love that city.
I love it
Couldn't
too.
do it.
Well, I love to visit it. We're
Love it.
there at least once or twice a year.
Yeah.
And
Same
Jaden
here.
is looking at schools there.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes. But like and what I took away from the conversation, I don't think I changed anyone's mind. They didn't change, of course they didn't
Right.
change my mind, right?
Right.
But we were able to have the conversation. We found some common ground. And I
Yeah.
know that Steph's thoughts may be a little bit of his conscious next time he thinks about things, right?
Right.
It may
Right.
just ping next time he hears it again, right? Oh,
Right.
that sounds familiar, right?
Right.
So, and the point is to keep having these conversations. And so and I want to get to this about Blackyard Grill and your
Yes.
new
Please go ahead.
multimedia storytelling platform, because I have to be on, and I want to ask you this question, and I hope it's
Yeah.
not too controversial.
No.
But
Go
it's
ahead.
around whether or not you have received slack from the Black community for being a news anchor on Fox, right? We don't have to get into the story
Sure.
behind why you made the switch necessarily, but I want to know
Right.
if you've had any of those moments,
Right.
ignorant or not. Like, I wonder how
Right.
those encounters have been. And then, and one thing I will say about Fox 45 News here locally in
Yeah.
Baltimore, it is one of the most hardest working news stations. Their investigative reporting is top
Yeah.
tier. You already heard that Kai himself is a multi Emmy Award winning news anchor and journalist. But when I was scrolling through, I was doing a little research, and I was scrolling through the video list on YouTube, and I scrolled through about 10 days worth of videos that were
Right.
posted,
Sure.
came across three positive stories about Baltimore, right?
Right. Right.
One, well, no, three positive stories. One wasn't even about Baltimore. One was on
Okay.
the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, their press
All right.
conference, right?
Yes. Yes.
And we talked about this, right? And I
Right.
think what you want to do with Blackyard Grill is sort of counteract that narrative, and bring a little bit of joy, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so let's talk about what you're doing with Blackyard Grill as a sort of um, I would definitely call this a part of our of community journalism to sort of
Right.
counteract that narrative, not only around Baltimore stories, but
Right.
stories that have a gaze upon them in the Black community.
Sure.
Tell us about Blackyard Grill.
Okay. And let me really quickly, let me just mention
Hmm.
that you mentioned just being at Fox 45, what I get from people.
Yes.
Mostly what I get is it's kind of a critique of journalism overall.
Mm.
There, I don't find a ton of complaints about the fact that I'm at Fox 45 per se, more than journalism. And because we do a lot of investigations and things like that,
Hmm.
there I wouldn't say two camps, but I get a mix of both, which is A, you know, boy, I wish you guys would do more positive stories. You're kind of always beating up on Baltimore, always beating up on the state. We hear that a lot. But even those people, like the other group I'm about to mention, do appreciate the investigations, which you mentioned. The investigations of reporters like Mackenzie Frost does. She obviously covers the State House, but she also has been doing things like with Safe Streets in Baltimore, that kind of thing. And then our other investigative reporter, Chris Papps, has done a lot of things regarding Project Baltimore and the school systems in both the city, not just the state of Maryland, but then also surrounding counties. He's done that. And we have other reporters there too. Rebecca Pryor did a bunch of great stories, and I would encourage people to go back to our website.
Okay, I'm gonna
A
write her
guy
name.
lost his home. A couple of people lost their homes because of aging infrastructure. Basically had a sinkhole that swallowed their home, and he went through this long legal battle with the city and eventually got compensated. But that's the kind of story I think that really matters to people, that people can kind of wrap their heads around. So I get a mix of that, but what I tell people at the end of the day is, and now we're going to lead into Backyard Grill. The journalism's responsibility is definitely to present balance. And so balance should be, yes, we're covering things that people, journalism ferrets out things that people often don't want you to ferret out. How taxpayer dollars are being spent, corruption, malfeasance, negligence, that kind of thing. But part of journalism also has to be the concerted effort to correct wrongs. When either the community is doing it or government entity is trying to repair something that's been damaged. I think we have a responsibility to do that. Now, with Backyard Grill is concerned, this is my response to the fact that we are not telling our own stories. And I mean in the Black community. We simply are not. What's happened, and if you look at the history, everyone but us has created and crafted our narrative. I don't think you can think of another group that has its story told by someone and that becomes the definitive story of who that group is. The group tells their own story. We need to be in, and I see, look, right now you give me those sister girl eyes.
Yeah.
You're like, preach, Kai. I can see it in your eyes. I know.
Yep.
And we're talking the same thing. We don't. And until we get to that point, we aren't going to be able to forge forward as a group and as people working together. Now, I've had a number of friends who have said to me quite candidly, then you need to tell them. I will get in sessions and, be in a restaurant, I'll be sitting at the bar, expressing my frustration, then tell the stories, Kai. That's what I hear. But Backyard Grill, so this is what Backyard Grill is going to focus on. I don't want this isn't going to be just Kai's journalism on the web, on YouTube, or on Instagram. I don't want to simply chronicle what people are doing, and that's all I do. And there's a nobility in the profession, and that's why I'm a journalist, and I like that. What I really want to do is tell community stories, but also do narrative storytelling. So I think we talked about this. I'm also a filmmaker. So I'm really focused on short films, not really features, but short films. And Hollywood defines a short, I think, is what, anything 40 minutes or less, right?
Yep.
So I want to do short films, short documentaries, community storytelling / blogging, and writing my book. That's Backyard Grill.
So tell folks about the 2 documentaries that you already have produced.
The first one was when my wife and I went to Africa in 2004. It's been 21 years. I can't believe that. We went to Ghana. We were there for 9 days, crisscrossed the country with a beautiful friend who has since passed away. His name was Francis Wilson, or Kweezy, we called him. That was his African name. And I met him through a wonderful woman named Doris Liggett. Doris is a Black woman who has run the Maryland Museum of African Art in the Howard County area for years. And she's been kind of stepping back as Doris has gotten older. But she is like a big sister, a surrogate mom to me. And Doris connected us with a wonderful gentleman named Dr. Kwaku Aforianza, who was, and I think he's retired, he was an art history professor at Howard University.
Hmm.
His nephew, through marriage, was Kwesi. So he connected us with his wife's nephew, and Kwesi took us around um, the country.
Oh, that must
We
have
of
been
course landed
wonderful
in
to have
Accra.
that sort of authentic, personal one-on-one experience like
Yes,
that.
and
Yes.
it made such a difference,
Hmm.
Stephanie. We landed in Accra. We were in Accra, Cape Coast, Elmina, so the slave castles.
Hmm.
We went to Kumasi.
Yes.
Kumasi is like the home of the Ashanti Kingdom
Yep.
in Africa. This is African royalty for Ghana,
Hmm.
and it's a bustling, wonderful place. And I'll put the, you know what I'll do? I'll put the documentary up so people can see it. I should do it because I was going to do kind of a
Yeah.
20th anniversary last year, but I've been so preoccupied with Black Yard Grill, I didn't have a chance. But I'll put it up so people can see it.
Yeah, and we'll
And
link
then
to
we
this in the
even
description of when I put the highlights from the live stream up.
okay,
Hmm.
that's a great idea. Thank
Yeah.
you. And then we even went to Lake Volta, which is really far away from Accra, and saw the big hydroelectric dam, which was the brainchild of the late great Kwame Nkrumah.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And so this was a wonderful experience. So that was the first documentary. And then the second one is called Run by Faith. And that documentary I used as my graduate thesis when I got my master's degree in film from American University. I followed a guy from my church named Gene Roberts who's from Maryland, but he flew out to California and ran back to Maryland with his own two legs. It took him almost a year, like 8 months to do. And so his wife was in a van next to him as he ran.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was so cool. When I tell people was imagine there were places where he legally couldn't run. Like the police might come by and say, this is not safe, Mr. Roberts, for
Hmm.
you to run here. So what he would do is typically would go to if he could, a neighboring military base.
Mm.
And let's say there were 10 miles that he couldn't run because it wasn't safe that particular distance. He would run that equivalent 10 miles on the base and then move forward, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Gene is a Vietnam veteran.
Hmm.
He was in Vietnam for about 2 weeks and he stepped on a landmine and lost both his legs.
Oh, Lord. Oh.
And he told the church, because we all attend the same church, he said he was going to run across America to thank Jesus for his life. He's very spiritual, very religious. And
That's
so I asked my
amazing.
wife, said, this will make a great story. You should ask him, because I was looking at documentary filmmaking. She said, you should ask him if you can tell a story. He and his wife agreed. And what I would do is on the weekends, on my own time,
Mm.
let's say we started in San Diego and I took my whole family out there, but let's say he was in Phoenix.
Mm.
I'd be on the phone with his wife, Alicia. Alicia, where are you guys at? We're about 20 miles from Phoenix. All right, listen, I'm going to fly this weekend. I'll fly into Phoenix. You guys will probably be past that. I'll rent a car and I'll drive to where you are. And
Hmm.
that's what I did. Here are the cities I was in for that documentary: San Diego, California,
Uh-huh.
Phoenix, Arizona,
Hmm.
Albuquerque, New Mexico,
Hmm.
Dallas, Texas,
Hmm.
Meridian, Mississippi,
Hmm.
Charleston, South Carolina, Washington, D.C.
Okay.
It was at the Capitol, and then
Uh-huh.
Baltimore. It
Wow.
it was
Talk
the
about a
most
cross-country road trip.
it was Stephanie, it was one of the most exhilarating experiences of my life. I have probably an archive now of like 50, 55 tapes that I shot with him. It was a great experience. I submitted that documentary into a lot of festivals. It never got programmed.
Hmm.
And one of my film friends, a mentor, told me it's like 30 minutes. He said, but for somebody who doesn't really have a name in documentary filmmaking, and I don't, he said, you want to make it short. He said, because a shorter documentary is going to get programmed somewhere. And so I've got a lot of good material with it. I can probably go back and retool it. But the bottom line is it was just a great experience. And
Um,
Gene's a
and
good guy.
and I know it's hard sometimes to figure out the logistics and even the means, but I highly encourage, especially people of color and Black people in this country, if you have an opportunity to take a cross country road trip in this country, for some reason, I did it with my little cousin. She was
Yeah.
going out to live with her fiance in California. It was a rapid
Okay.
affair. We did it in like 7 days or something.
Wow.
And we stopped in Memphis, we stopped in Houston. I think we did Albuquerque. We were in Albuquerque too. That was
Yes.
one.
Albuquerque's a beautiful town.
It is beautiful. Went to this
Yeah.
wonderful Italian restaurant. And then, um, but for some reason, it made me feel it just made me feel more connected to the United States to my
Yeah,
country. It made me
it
feel like
does. It does.
this is mine. Like this is ours. Like I
Yes,
am
it
here and
is.
this is
Yep.
mine and we are doing this and
Yes.
all
You
of
feel
the
very
colors of
American.
the rainbow and the
You feel
landscape.
very American. Yep.
Very American in a good
Yeah.
positive way, in a
In a good
patriotic,
way.
in a way that I
Yep.
think hopefully all of us can get behind. And so I
Yeah.
highly encourage, especially Black people, take a cross country road, people. Go see all of
Yeah.
us across the nation. It's a lovely experience.
It's
Um,
wonderful. It is.
and so for Grill, we talked about shorts. And
Yep.
one of our first conversations when we were discussing Black Yard Grill, and I think Raphael mentioned this, he mentioned one of these sort of 48-hour documentary type of contest and
Oh yeah.
programs
Yeah.
that he wanted to encourage you to get into.
Yeah.
And so I have a question about sort of your process around when you're writing a story, one versus, we can see the obvious differences, but I think there's probably a lot of commonalities too between how you prepare for a short story, either a brief short story as a news
Yeah.
anchor, a longer one as an article, versus something like the documentaries you just prepared for, or you're preparing for now.
Right.
I don't know if you want to talk about the new one you're doing, but tell us a little bit about your process. I'm an editor, so I'm always
Yeah.
wants to know about the process.
And the process is something I'm constantly tinkering with and fine tuning. And when I'm wrapping this up, I'm happy to share the new one.
Hmm.
Um, sitting down, number one, and brainstorming. So I've got basically a really short main sheet that I use as a guide now. It is
Love to see that.
brainstorming. What were you going to say?
I said I would love to see
Yeah, let me. In fact,
that.
it's on my other phone. I don't have it on. I don't have it on this phone, and I don't know where my other phone is. But I can remember it. I think most of the part, for the
Hmm.
most part. So, folks want to jot this down. Brainstorming, coming up with an idea, and I want to. And don't forget to ask me where I think people can get some story ideas, because that always happens too. And I've got some things that will help you generate story ideas.
Okay.
But brainstorming, research, and I don't consider these things the same thing. Brainstorming is kind of sitting around thinking about something that you'd like to do or tell a story about. And that you can do with Stephanie, with Kai, with your mom, your dad, your best friend, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your grandmother, your next door neighbor, somebody you don't know at a bar. It's just brainstorming, just kind of free thought. Then you get into research where you're going to go to the library, you're going to go to a local town hall, city hall, go to an archives, go to the Maryland Historical Society. You're going to start researching a library.
I was about to say, don't forget.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
So there's brainstorming, there's research, then there's pre-production,
Hmm.
thinking about the things that you're going to need to put in place. What's this story's going to look like? How you're going to shoot it? What's the texture of it going to be? You're going to shoot it in 4K. You're going to shoot it in 1080. You want it in black and white. Do you want it to be handheld? Do you want things on a tripod? Whatever you want to do. Then there's production in earnest, post production. I'm going to make them really simple. And even after post production, you've still got some work to do. I considered. I think I added in a new one. When I was in film school, one of the things that we talked about that you do in regular films is errors and omissions. Right? It's
Hmm.
more it's more important when you're having a film that's going to be appear on Netflix or HBO, and you actually get errors and omissions insurance. That is just in case you make some kind of a mistake as a filmmaker, and somebody comes after you and holds you liable. You
Hmm.
don't have to worry if you have a if you have a story on one of those big platforms like Amazon, Netflix, or HBO. They'll take care of that for you. But I kind of weave that in there because if you're thinking about doing a production that you want to get out commercially, that may be a factor too. So I just kind of threw in E&O is something to think about, errors and omissions. And then
Okay.
you also want to think about, and this is a very big one, and I'm putting this at the end of this, but it really shouldn't be. It should be at the beginning, according to one of my good filmmaker friends, Michael Melvin, and that's distribution. You should really think about distribution first. After you brainstorm, distribution should come in after that. Why? Where is your film going to live? Where's your short going to live? Or you want it on YouTube? Do you want it on Twitch? As Stephanie and Raphael have
Hmm.
encouraged me to put my content on Twitch. Do you want it on Instagram? Um, do you want it on your own website? That's one thing I want to compliment you and Raphael. That's one thing I love about what you guys do. You use these other platforms, but what you're also doing is using them, driving them back to Books and Bounty, which you own and that's yours.
Yes.
That's what I want to do, Stephanie.
Yes.
I want to drive people back to something I own because I'm going to tell you something. If you look at the numbers, and I've got a lot of friends on YouTube, and I'm sure you do too.
Mm-hmm.
We have to make up our minds.
It's so
Do
much.
we want do we want commercial success or do we want to be making a difference? Go ahead. You have a thought. Go ahead.
I was
Let me
gonna. I was
pause.
no. Oh no. I was just thinking to myself. I was sort of
Yeah.
putting the thing up. Like, yes, I agree. And I think there is a sort of that dynamic of black. Like, do you want to be commercial or not? But I think there's also with a lot of the technology and what there's like a few some gray ground there, right?
Yes.
Where with the technology and the all the different ways you can integrate them based on what you want to experience and produce out in the world,
Yes.
um, that there is opportunity, I think, to be slightly commercial and to be commercial and make change. And I want to talk about this is actually a case study that I'm going to bring up during the panel at the Be More News Black Wall Street Expo tomorrow.
Right.
And that's a case study actually on Gloria Deem and Well Read Black Girl around sort of
Okay.
that pathway and middle ground between being commercial but also being firmly in um, an activist and change maker. But I'm
Will you,
sorry,
will you,
I
will
cut you
you
off a little bit. Go ahead.
no, you're fine. Will you text that title to me offline
I will. This
so
one,
I can
this
read
title
that?
actually, yes, Well Read Black Girl. This is Gloria Dim's first book. It's essays from many writers and other creators. Um, I would call them peers, but they are a world away from me when it comes to talent and
I
ability.
understand.
But this book was actually just banned by the Department of Defense. So all of their military installations, schools, and libraries are no longer to read Well Read Black Girl. This is not
Why?
fiction. This is not radical
Why was it
ideology.
banned?
These are, I have no, it is DEI. All the DEI stuff is getting, the black stuff. I don't know why we keep saying this is I want to, what the DEI word, what they want to say, but they're using DEI instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is an anthology of just personal tales
Sure.
of how
Right.
Black women writers relate to other women writers in the world and
Okay.
their own stories.
Okay. Right.
So, but that's a case study that I want to bring up tomorrow during the panel. That sort of, I think she's a great, her journey to commercialization, but being able to stay to herself and be authentic and sort of form the world around her work and her
Yeah.
vision, masterclass in it. Um,
I want to
but
read that.
yes,
I
so
want to read that.
I'll send you her latest book is called Gather Me, but I'll send you her
Okay.
website and where you can find out more about
Please
Gloria.
do. Yeah.
Hmm.
And shout out to the late great poet Nikki Giovanni. I was seeing she died fairly recently, and since we're talking about Black women, who was an amazing just
Yes.
storyteller. What an amazing history. Friends with the great James Baldwin,
Hmm.
and they'd had a great conversation together. So I just wanted to throw her name out there and mention her. Let me let me share with you and with the viewers something I did recently. As I mentioned, Walter Mosley. I'm always watching films. My wife and I both love films, and I have a lot of old films I love, but I'll
Hmm.
go watch something new. I picked up so every year. This kind of transitions to you, my friend. Every year I have a goal of reading at least a book a month.
Okay.
Now I'm going to tell you something. I got a couple of my coworkers who tell me they'll read like 30 books in a period of a month or two, and I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they find time to do it. And I'm a slow reader, so I don't read that
Yeah.
fast.
And I
You're a
journal
fast
when I
reader.
read. I
You-
journal when I read. I'm not a fast reader now, but I've been able to find out how I can read multiple books at once.
Okay.
So if I'm reading like a short story or poetry collection in tandem
Yes.
with a novel, in tandem with a graphic novel, then I can do all three of those usually at once. But you
Wow.
should ask your coworkers whether or not they're listening to audiobooks because people will
No.
that they're
It's
not.
funny it's
Ah,
funny you
where
mention
do
that.
they find the time? I,
Oh,
I
yeah,
had the
at
same
least
question.
yes, yes. I can't figure it out, but I think at least one of them was saying they are doing audiobooks as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
one has a Kindle, and
Okay.
I just and the Kindles are fine. Nothing against it. I have to do this.
Yep.
First of all, I'm
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
tactile cat, so I
Yeah.
want to smell the
Yeah.
pages. I'm serious. I'm very weird like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and let me show you something. This is the Walter Mosley book, right?
Yeah. And I talk about that stuff
Look,
in my book
what do you see
reviews.
here? Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, I can see it.
See that sticky note? One here. I do this all the time when I
Yep.
read. If I'm
Yep.
reading for information, I don't do it without sticky notes next to me. And those sticky notes, I will go back and refer to.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I read Shirley Chisholm's book.
Okay.
Sticky notes all through it, unbought and unbossed. The documentary was great. So I started one book, and I'll say that I'll tell you who it was later. I'm not going to do it today. It's somebody I admire, and I I couldn't focus.
Mm-hmm.
This writer has a style that was very difficult for me to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a male, and I'm not going to say who it was, but I couldn't do it. So I needed another book to read. So I read the first book I read this year. Was that the first one? Yeah, it was. And now I'm on a second book. So it was Walter Mosley's book
Yeah.
as a second book. I couldn't read the first guy, and I said I got to get another book. So I picked up Devil in a Blue Dress.
Mm-hmm.
We'd had this book in the house, and I'd never read it. I'd seen the movie. So here was my treat to myself, and this is the Walter Mosley story I wanted to tell you guys. I decided I'm going to read his book, which I had never read, and then I'm going to watch the movie, which I had seen. I blew through that book because I couldn't wait to watch the movie again because I love the movie. But the book was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
This man is an amazing writer. There were small elements actually, and I told my wife this. There were small elements about the movie I liked better. It was just about how they crafted the story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what's my point of all this? It was really enjoyable to read a book by a guy who's responsible for a movie, to finally read his book, soak it up, and then go and watch the movie. And of course, watch Denzel and Don Cheadle tear this movie apart. They
Yep.
were just
They
both
sure
of them were
did.
phenomenal in it.
Yep.
And it was a real joy to do that. And I'm going to tell you, I like the book so much. I'll probably go back and read it again.
That's
Um,
see, and
he's a
that's
great
rare.
storyteller.
Do you reread often?
No, I can't say I do.
I don't either.
I
I
can't
don't
say I
either.
do. With movies, I'll go back and watch movies that I've seen before 2, 3, 4 times, easy.
But
But
go ahead.
if I like the book, maybe so, yeah.
Yeah,
But I can't say I do it often.
I can probably name the number of books that I have reread on my hand. But I'm glad you mentioned the books that have been adapted to movies and things. Raph and I are trying to come up with a series because he is more into television and film.
Yes,
But there's a few we found common ground in, like, film books that have been adapted for TV and film. And so we want to
right.
do a little some specials on that, I think, for us to find some common ground, because now he's coming to me with things. He's like, Steph, this book is turned
Uh,
into a movie. You need to read it.
yes, yeah,
Because he wants to talk about the story, but he knows
yeah.
I would prefer probably reading the book.
Reading the
Um,
book, yeah.
so speaking of reads and recommendations, Kai, we are wrapping up the interview, but before you
Okay,
leave, I
yeah.
always ask my guests if they could leave us with any bookish recommendations for bookish people, organizations, things, events upcoming. This is an opportunity to plug your own work of your
Right.
colleagues, or any creative stories or art out there that you think the viewers would like to tune into.
Yeah. The plug I'll do for me is one of the first Blackyard Grove stories you're going to see is about my karate professor. I'll call him a karate teacher. I'm saying professor. He's a karate teacher named Mr. Najib Amin. He is very dear to me. Getting a little older, has been slowing down, but he's phenomenal. He's 92
Wow.
and has been teaching me karate since 1999. I take Shotokan karate, so
Mm.
I have gotten. I can't tell you how much video I've done with Mr. Amin already. I just haven't edited all of this together, but it's going to be one of the first stories I put out there. But what's key about this is there will be a thread kind of linking these stories together with Mr. Amin for a reason, and I'll reveal that later. But he'll be one of the first. I'll do a little bit about my own background and family,
Mm-hmm.
about how I got here. That's going to be a story I do too. It's going to be a short, probably about 7 to 12 minutes long, about my parents and how I got here. Writing wise, you're going to see a story about a good friend of mine who, the title is about a good friend who died. Her name is Joyce Austin.
Mm-hmm.
That's the YA book I'm working on. And I know Stephanie's smiling because I shared this with her. It's really a really special story.
Yes.
I'm using Joyce's name, but it will have the sensibilities and the free spiritness of my daughters. So I'm
That's
really
a new point. That's a new
yeah,
that's a great way to describe it, Kai. That's beautiful.
thank you. That one I'm working on. I'm writing that now. I am writing. I just need to write more consistently. For reads and recommendations, I absolutely recommend not just Devil in a Blue Dress, but for those of you who are writers out there, this is a good book. My sister bought this for me, and there's another book that Walter has upstairs. I can't go get it because we're about to wrap up, but This Year Write Your Novel. You write your novel. This is great. Octavia Butler's Kindred was absolutely phenomenal. I read that, I think, if it wasn't last year, maybe 2 years ago. She was an amazing writer. And I'm sorry she's passed away because I can only imagine the books that she would have been writing today.
Yes.
And the kind of work she'd be leaving us with. Don't you think, Stephanie?
I do, and I'm looking down because there's a biography coming out about her that seems really interesting. I'm trying to find, I think I saved it on Instagram.
Okay.
Oh, goodness.
By the way, I've not watched I want to see it. I want to watch the documentary on Sly
I'll have
Stone.
to. Ooh, yes. I'll have to.
Yeah,
I'll make sure to post this when I post the highlights. I'll put a link in the reads and recommendations section, and
okay.
I'll send it when I find the post. I'll send it DM it to you, Kai.
Oh, excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. I highly recommend that. That's a very good book. Very, very good book. And there's another good book. There's a young man named Sean Rochester who wrote a book called The Black Tax that I just happened to read. Just talking about historically how there has been disinvestment in Black Americans and in Black communities and programs that we've not been privy to. I mean, little things, when people think that African Americans are complaining unnecessarily, they have to be reminded of things like, and I mention this because both my father and my father's father, his stepdad, but the only dad he knew in his life really, both served in the military. And I'm very patriotic. I almost went in and got my commission as a second lieutenant in the Army. I don't know if I put that in the bio, but a fun fact about me, I have an honorable discharge from the Army. That's real, but I never served active duty. So my father was in the Army during the Vietnam conflict, but he was stationed in Germany, so he wasn't in Vietnam. And had he been in Vietnam, I might not be talking with you here today. So his dad served in World War II. But that said, when the American GIs came back from World War II, there are about 1.8 million, close to 2 million, you know the story, who were not eligible for the GI Bill. They didn't get it. Now, Mr. Mean actually tells me, Mr. Mean served too. He was in the service. He's only 2 years older than my dad was. My dad is gone.
Okay.
But he said he got the GI Bill. So some did. I think most did not. And that money started the middle class in America that we know today.
My
That and some
neighborhood, Hose Heights, was built after World War II. From there, there were homes that primarily initially went to sort of the help of the rich people in Roland Park, but that was World War II development.
Okay, yeah, and so why do I make that point? I just make that point because those are the kinds of stories that we want to tell. We want to tell those stories that are encouraging and uplifting, but we also want to tell those stories about history that a lot of people may not talk about. Now, this isn't one that isn't talked about. It's been talked about and discussed, but we also have to remember that as people get older, as generations pass on, you need to make sure you're leaving that information and that legacy with the generations coming up behind you. That's
Exactly.
important.
Exactly. And let me put that note down. I've been writing down all my notes and where I'm gonna put clips later.
Yes.
Um, it it just reminds me again to go back to the beginning of our conversation around like community journalism and overall the power of storytelling.
Yeah.
Essentially, Kai, you're creating in Backyard Grill a sort of digital griot experience. There's
Oh,
a young
I love that because I love
yes,
the griot. I love who the griot is in the Black community. Thank you.
yes.
That I'm honored that you would say that. Thank
and
you.
and there's a young lady, Nicole Butler. She's been on the show before. I'm gonna connect you guys too because
Okay.
she's making an effort to create a youth program that transforms youth into digital griots.
Okay.
And I think that is the key there. It's about not only counteracting and telling stories that bring joy around the from the Black community, but it's I think it's more about telling stories from our gaze,
Hmm.
and that gaze matters, and putting that at the forefront and on, at the making it priority on these digital platforms, because we are still told a lot of these stories, even though we all know a lot of the World War II stories.
Yes.
Generally, um, we don't get down to those specific anecdotes, those specific moments that really connect us together, right? You talked about the thread and those connections.
Right.
And so I applaud you not only for, um, the profound journalism that you have brought locally here to my home and our home here in Baltimore and in Maryland, but your continuation of what you want to do and how you want to
Right.
now, taking all of what you learn, all of your talents, and putting it back into us.
Yeah.
And I really do appreciate that, Kai.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you for having me on today. As a quick mention,
Mhm.
Stephanie, did you see? You probably did. You and Raphael watched the 688 with Kerry Washington, the story of the Black women who were in the military who went over to
We,
Europe.
s- I think we started watching that
Okay.
one. Yeah, and that was I don't know. We
It
didn't.
didn't connect with you?
That was a Tyler Perry movie, right? Is that the Perry
Yes, I think he did
production?
have something to do with it. Yes, he did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it was we couldn't
Be
get
honest. Be
past the
honest.
Tyler Perry esque of
I
it.
understand. I
The
understand that. I
story
get it.
itself, though, it did make me Google and learn a little
Yeah.
bit more about it because it's something I did not know about before.
I didn't know about it either. It was
And
fascinating.
so I do appreciate that, and in talking about
Yeah.
telling our stories from our gaze.
Yes.
Although I'm gonna, well, I'm gonna really digress if I talking about Tyler Perry and what gaze he represents. But
We should have that discussion though, because
yeah, we
I
definitely
get
should
it.
have that discussion, you and
No, we
I.
should, and I get it, and I understand people's frustration where that's
Yeah.
concerned. I do. I completely get it. I
Um,
do.
but it's also something that collectively I wholeheartedly believe in Tyler Perry and what he's doing.
Right.
And so I often don't want to take away from that by like
So,
nothing that I have to say about it's all
right,
very superficial, right? And
right.
so
So if I can, I'm not putting words in your mouth.
mhm,
I imagine from a business standpoint, building the studio in Atlanta, you like that.
I
From an
love it.
artistic standpoint, you want to see more.
A little bit
Yep,
more, a
I'm
little
with you.
bit more.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. Well,
Um
we'll save that conversation. Yep.
Well, Kai, yes, I hope we can continue to have many conversations.
Me
I know
too.
Black Yard Grill will be up and running on the streaming platforms and social media platforms as you continue to develop content in the
Yeah.
background. So I hope to see more of that, and hopefully, once maybe even perhaps toward the end of this year, sooner, we can have a sort of collab stream here on Twitch with Black
I
Yard
would
Grill.
love I would love to do that. I'd like to do a collab stream, and I'm hoping that me and Raphael,
Hmm.
Stephanie's husband, get a chance to work on a project in Baltimore together. That is absolutely
Yes.
on my agenda and goal for this year. That Raphael and I get together and work on something together because with the vast knowledge that you guys have and what you're doing, I think we could sit down and come up with something really cool.
Yeah.
And it have to be historic. It can be. It could just be something neighborhood related, or it
Right.
could be historic. But I'd
Right,
love to do that.
exactly.
Yep.
Um, and if you're
Oh,
free
Stephanie,
tomorrow, uh,
yes.
uh,
What?
Donnie is hosting, Be More
Yeah.
News is hosting another series. It's called the Black Wall Street Expo. I don't know if you know, he
Okay.
has the series of the Joe Mann's Black Wall Street Awards. It's going to be at the Downtown Multicultural Arts Center. The Traveling Book Nook
Oh,
will be there. Tickets are only
wow.
$5. So if you want to
Very cool.
come, I'll be sitting on a panel about how to write a book. But there's like multiple panels that day.
Excellent.
Abu the flute maker is going to be there.
Oh, I know Abu.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's
Abu's
going to be
cool.
there giving a class, and you can build a flute. And it will end in a fashion show. So take a
I
look
love
at
it.
bmorenews.com for more information. And I hope to see you there if you have some free time tomorrow.
Send me the information, the link on that. And quickly, one thing I want to tell the viewers before we close out. One of the next things I'm going to do, and this, you and I can do this together, Stephanie, is I do want to start. One of the legacies I want to leave is helping people in Baltimore. And I'll be doing this in other places, maybe around the country, helping people learn how to be their own storytellers.
Mm.
Um, you don't need Kai Jackson in the news to tell your story. If you don't want to do storytelling, that's fine. And believe me, I'm happy to come in and tell those stories, that I pick. I'm not necessarily taking a hotline of calls for stories, but there are some people who want to do that. And I
Hmm.
think, but I think what's crucial is that we, particularly with our young people, we give them the tools and the skills to be their own storytellers so they can do that. And then out of that, yeah, from what you do, your work, you and Raphael do, we may get both poets, authors, filmmakers, vloggers, the whole nine. I'd love to see all of that. But one of the things I'm going to do is absolutely talk to people and maybe do some seminars and classes on how to tell your own stories.
And I think that's the key about it. We've had I think one of the themes, although the focus is going to be around community journalism and what you're doing with Black Yard Grill. One of the themes threads that connected this conversation was around talking to people, right?
Yes.
Even from that experience I had in the cafe. And so Kai, I encourage you continue to get that camera out, continue to
Thank
talk to
you.
people. You guys talk to Kai. You can follow him, Kai Jackson Writes. You see it on your screen now.
Yep.
And look out for big things to come from Black Yard Grill.
Thank you, Stephanie.
All
Thank
right,
you, Books
thanks,
and Bounty.
Kai.
Thank you, Raphael. Love you guys.
Love you too. Bye, Kai. Have a good
Bye.
one.
Bye.
Oh, let's see.
Oh, look at the camera, Stephanie.
Oh, you want me to look at
Yeah.
the camera? Oh, okay, hold
Yeah.
on.
Are you recording this?
We're still yeah, we're recording right now. Of course, when I highlight things will be clipped, but we're recording. So of course I can send you some raw footage too.
That's cool because I want to post it out and obviously tag you guys.
Okay, that'll work.
Okay, now I'm gonna click off.
All right, bye,
Bye
Kai.
bye. Bye.
All right, everyone. We just wrapped up our live interview, Desk Time with Steph here at Books and Bounty. Thank you for joining us today. If you're still here, I see Elizabeth Michaud, poet extraordinaire out of Georgia, and also a featured traveling Book Nook vendor who you'll be able to preview her work. Actually, you'll be able to buy her work. She's put together some great book boxes for you all of her with her two collections of poetry, Five Dreams and The Bones in the Garden. And she will be featured on display at the Traveling Book Nook. So shout out to Elizabeth. Thank you for joining us on Instagram. Let's see, who else do we have? Liz Bullard is viewing. Dear B Love Me. Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., known as Dr. LJ Speaks, the Impact Builder. He's in the building. Kendall Lanise. Where's Kendall Books? There's Kendall. You know Kendall will be in the Traveling Book Nook as well. And let's see who just joined the chat on Twitch. Good morning, Matt, or good afternoon now. Thank you for joining. As always, Lions Pride Media is a number day one Books and Bounty supporter and a Books and Bounty subscriber. Check him out. He is a fellow book Twitch streamer. He streams about 24/7. You can get behind the scenes. I don't know if you guys just hear Lexi in the background, but conveniently, the construction outside and the dog barking was after the interview. So, thank you for that timing. Uh, but yeah, man, I was going to talk to you about that because I think I noticed that you stopped streaming 24/7. But who else do we have here? We have Serendipity Ethos. Hello, how are you? Thank you for your first time chat. I hope you give us a follow. Just remember, if you are viewing on other streaming platforms right now, one, we are primarily using TikTok and some of those others as just marketing platforms. We are still heavily on Instagram, primarily Instagram, but we are really focusing on over these next few weeks, figuring out all of the new Twitch affiliate features, making sure that we can have more engaging, lively chat on screen experience for you guys, developing new show formats such as Desk Time with Books and Bounty on Fridays, right now, where we bring to you leading industry experts. And the next phase of that is going to be developing the next phase of the Bookish Brigade Discord server so that we can actually have a call-in series. So this is your friendly reminder that if you are listening on Instagram or other streaming platforms, Twitch is Books and Bounty's primary streaming platform. We are a Twitch affiliate, and all of the exclusive content. And we are only guaranteed to go live, especially on our Tuesday nights at 10 on Twitch. So if you want to engage in a lively on-screen experience with our lively guest and other viewers, make sure, and to have your message show up on screen, make sure that you're viewing and following on Twitch. And again, following on Twitch while we're in our early supporter campaign, you will automatically be entered to win any of the Bookish Big giveaways that is legacy entry, okay, here at Books and Bounty. So make sure you go follow on Twitch, share the live stream, and subscribe to get rid of any of those pesky ads. All right, we're going to take a quick break. I need to find chapstick and take a sip of water and not tea. I'm very parched. And while I do that, but before I do, I want to talk a little bit about what I have here. As you guys always know, I have a bit of a display, and I wonder. All right, the lighting's fairly well. I thought maybe it was a little bright, but I think it's okay. So, dun, 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 dun. So first and foremost, you guys, again, make sure you go follow Kai Jackson Writes. Follow him now. Get ahead of the curve. Be an early supporter of Black Yard Grill. He is on Twitch. And as he builds and develops his content for his new multimedia storytelling platform, I highly encourage you to support Kai Jackson, multi-Emmy Award winner, outstanding longtime journalist serving Baltimore, Maryland, and the surrounding areas. All right. Now, Black Wall Street Expo. Let me bring it up. Oh, I'm talking. Oh, not that one. All right, so tomorrow at the Downtown Cultural Arts Center here in Baltimore, Maryland, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, BeMoreNews.com will be hosting the Black Wall Street Expo 2025. As I mentioned earlier, there's a full day of programming, multiple panels, one of which I'll be sitting on with folks such as known as Monique, who else? David Miller, an acclaimed children's book author, will be facilitating the conversation. And there will be other panels and activities for all kinds of folks. For example, I just dropped something important. For example, I just mentioned Abu the flute maker will be there. It will be culminating in a fashion show. And it's really an opportunity for you to meet some movers and shakers here in Baltimore and support Black local small businesses. And at Books and Bounty, we have the Traveling Book Nook, which creates a curated reading and bookish experience traveling from conference to expo, and we're even available to curate your private events if you want to have a sort of bookish Book Nook experience. One of the ones that I am planning for later this summer is actually a Spicy Reads Bachelorette Book Nook. So think of if you are getting married and you want to give your wedding guests a fun, and your avid readers or bookish people yourself, then invite the Traveling Book Nook to curate that experience for you and your guests. So tomorrow, the Traveling Book Nook will be at the Black Wall Street Expo. So not only will I be at the panel, we'll be also hosting the Traveling Book Nook vendor booth. You'll be able to preview or purchase some of the books that you see here. For example, Elizabeth Michaud will have for sale her 2 books of poetry. Elijah Lewis is new to the Traveling Book Nook. He is a young Black author out of Baltimore. He actually went to Poly. I am a Baltimore City College High School graduate. We have a long, outstanding rivalry that precedes even my mother. If you don't know, Baltimore City College High School is the 3rd oldest high school in the nation. So anyway, rivalry goes back. He gets out of his car when I first meet him with this, Kendall's calling me, with this poly hat. Hold on, let me see 1 second. Kendall, I'm live, girl. You're going to have to hold on for a minute. Just hold on. I will put you on mute. Hold on, but you live, so hold on. Hold on. um, and so, and I was just actually talking about you. I talked you up because I'm going through traveling Book Nook authors. And I just showed you a book. Like I just was talking about, like, Kendall Lanise's day one. Support. Yeah, I was just talking about you. You gonna call my phone. Yes. So yeah, Kendall. Look, I'm showing everybody. I said, look, Kendall's on the phone. Well, I'm on Twitch right now. I couldn't collab on Instagram at the moment. Do you do you need me to call you back in a minute? Because I'm actually about to take a break before Donnie Glover's gonna come on at 1. Mm-hmm.
So proud and even if you have like a brick and mortar, so you can bring the people to you and then they can support everything else you're doing.
Honey, that is the dream. I would love to have a brick and mortar bookstore, but I have a few folks that I think there's one Urban Reads bookstore is owned by Tia Hamilton on Greenmount, so I'm gonna get you hooked up, connect you with her. There's a few other folks. Brandon Butts manages Charm City Reads here in Baltimore. So there's a few folks I connect you with to see, but I do not have a brick and mortar. But as I was just telling the folks, the traveling Book Nook. There are vending opportunities to get the book out in front of folks through the event series that we're having.
So I'm all on that.
Is it out yet?
I'm gonna be it's pre-sale. It comes out March 12th.
March 12th. All right. I'll talk to you. I'll be finished with live today around 3. I'll give you. Are you going to be coming to the Black Wall Street Expo tomorrow?
It's tomorrow.
It's 10 to 3, Downtown Cultural Arts Center. The ticket's only $5.
The cultural. Where's the cultural arts?
It is. Yeah. Yep. 401 North Howard.
Okay. Yeah, I could do because some stuff in the morning. Yeah, I could do it after. I could get there like probably towards the end. I'll try my best to get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so come and then maybe we can chat then. But if not, I'll text you and we can set up some time to get together next week.
Yeah, like let's meet up.
Yeah.
Because Charm City, I don't know if they have. I would love to just bring people not only because I could have an event, people who own space where I could have an event, but I was like, how can it where Black-owned bookstore or people can they like, oh, I didn't know this was here, and they come see me, but then go back to see them.
Urban Reads Bookstore, Tia Hamilton. She just reopened, had her grand reopen, and I think this would be a wonderful opportunity for you and for her. So, yeah, Tia Hamilton, look her up. I'll start following her, Urban Reads Bookstore on Instagram.
Okay, and then the other one you said too, Charm City, but yeah, okay, but yeah, we'll talk. I don't want to interrupt your live.
No problem. It's good timing.
You said
Urban Reads Bookstore. Tia Hamilton is the owner.
Okay, I see it. Okay,
she was on the show a couple weeks ago.
I think I've seen that. Oh, it's like her business is a brownstone, or this? Oh no, that's the last OG.
No, she's right on. She's located on Greenmount Avenue, so it's really like that bookish area around Emma's and Normal's and all that. Zora's Den has a lot of their events right there at 3100 Greenmount. Let me see, Urban Reads.
And then Charm City.
Yeah, Charm City Books. You want to talk to Brandon Butts? He's the manager.
Okay, you know him.
Yeah, he's actually going to be on the show Tuesday.
I'll let you talk to him first to let him know I'll be calling.
Yes, I'll text him and let him know.
That way. And
Matt,
then that
actually,
way.
what I'll do, Kendall, let me put a note here. I'll send an email to both of them.
Oh, and this might be the place though, because he has like a whole kids section with stuffed animal. This would be perfect.
And I know
I have some kids from the neighborhood. Like I can, I want to read to them, and then have that whole book event. But I want it to be like kid friendly.
Yeah, and Urban Reads, I know that she carries children's titles as well. Actually, she has a whole line of them up here if you go. That's one of the
I
first
gotta
things
look,
she
but I just
highlights.
fell in love with this space
Mm-hmm.
with the little. I can see it. I can I can visualize it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just the way that the little. He did a post 6 days ago. I could do both. You know what I mean?
That's what I said. I don't see
So
why. I think you should do
I
both.
would like to have the event as I'm looking at his.
Mm-hmm.
But then I would definitely go there. It's about reading the children and having them come 100%.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I want to go on a I want to do that. Like I want to have like maybe the book event if you could talk to him about that, like the Charm City Books.
Okay.
People come out with their kids, whatever, or nieces, nephews, or themselves, and I read the book to them, and then we talk about it, have a discussion, and then I can go over for pick another day and go see the sister. Go over there, have some kids come, make this maybe the official one, and then just go. Yeah, I definitely could still hit it.
Okay, I'm gonna put a note right here. This is what I'm gonna do with my Sunday. So I might, because between this evening, tomorrow, I'm gonna be making the displays and everything. So I might not be able to, because I want to sit down and write a nice note about it. And
Yeah.
so by probably on Sunday, I'll send an email out and I'll copy you on it to both of them.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you for answering my call.
No problem. For Kendall.
To you, and I'll let you know tomorrow if I'm coming or not.
All right, I'll be there. All right.
You're on live. Sorry, I was rude.
No, I know. Well, that's the thing. I could have sent you the voicemail and took a text message. I said, nope, I'm actually talking about Kendall right now. Let me pick up the phone. Yep. Yep. That's what happens. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye. See? Look at that. I talked her into existence. I'm going through what's going on in the Traveling Book Nook tomorrow, and here comes Kendall. So Kendall was one of our first authors featured in the Traveling Book Nook. She has she's a certified life coach. One of the philosophies she lives by is the ability to remix your life, and goes by the Remix Coach. One of her favorite self-development books that I like and reached me was Excuse Me, Your Unhealed is Showing. Another day one Traveling Book Nook supporter, Stephon Folks. You heard Kai Jackson mention him because he was the first signing author with the Traveling Book Nook experience here at Books and Bounty at the Black Wall Street Expo hosted by Notre Maison Connects and Jackie Cummings. What else do we have here? The Fire Inside, probably later on tonight, but definitely Tuesday night when we talk about live event reviews and literature, cultural events going on locally and virtually. Last night I went to an open mic night hosted by Zora's Den. Zora's Den I've also displayed, and they will be displayed again in the Traveling Book Nook. This is not good lighting. It's too bright. Hold on. I don't even know if you guys are seeing that well. There, that's better. The Fire Inside. And this is an anthology of collected stories and poems from Zora's Den, which is a women's writers collective here in Baltimore, Maryland. It's founded by Victoria Adams Kennedy. This is the third volume with guest editor Bernice L. McFadden. Last night there was an open mic night hosted by Alana Nicole as well. And it was wonderful because not only did Alana read, not only did Victoria read, but they convinced me to read. So, if you were live on Books and Bounty last night, you caught that. Whether or not that's going to make it into the highlights that stick around permanently on the website, I don't know. I may do post a real clip to my stories or something, but that's why you guys got to make sure you catch Books and Bounty live on Twitch, because you never know when something crazy is going to happen. But so that was a wonderful, fun event, again, hosted by Zora's Den. Make sure you pick up a copy of The Fire Inside Volume 3. This is actually how I discovered the work of Michelle Evans. Michelle Evans is also is a featured guest in the Ink and Inspiration series. We talked about, she was on Books and Bounty discussing her recently published February 18th, recently 14th, excuse me, February 14th, recently published poetry collection, Pearl. Oh, there's a spammer in my chat. Ban you. Ban. Don't come in my chat harassing my viewers. And so, pick up your copy of Fire Inside. There's some wonderful local artists. Again, I've discovered some of my favorites here. Last night, who did we read? Amanda Bennett read. There's a few others, but I'll be posting the highlight for what I didn't get to stay the entire time, but I will be posting a few short clips from some of the folks who got up and read and performed. Let's keep going here before I get to go back to Glory. Who else do we have? Okay, we have Cassandra Ferguson. Cassandra Ferguson is the CEO and founder of Elevation Global Media Group, which is an events partner here at Books and Bounty. Our book fairs will be hosted at their Books and Bounty. The Ink and Inspiration series for the book fairs will be hosted at their headquarters in White Marsh, Maryland, across from the mall. Then we have Matthew Rhodes. And I'm going to talk about this point blank, right? I'm just put it out there. Matthew Rhodes is a white man, okay? He's queer. And he's a marginalized storyteller in the sense that he uses storytelling to help him connect in ways with others that that living with a mental disorder normally would not. But Matthew Rhodes, aka Lions Pride Media, in the studio right now, in the chat, not in the studio, in the chat right now, has been a day one Books and Bounty supporter. And so when I was writing the mission statement for Ink and Inspiration, you'll notice that it is definitely primarily to amplify, uplift, promote, and get dollars into the hands of Black and Indigenous storytellers. But when you talk about being an ally authentically, Matthew is a prime example. Not only has this been a mutual exchange of knowledge, but he has really helped me understand Twitch, how to integrate it with other things. When I get and have my own time to focus, he's going to help out with what we want to do, some of the creative ideas and vision that I have for the Bookish Brigade Discord server. And I will say this, Matthew's stories are really, really interesting. His imagination goes there. His stories are not for everyone, but if you want to know more about why, make sure that you come by the Traveling Book Nook tomorrow, and we can talk more about his books and his stories. I've read one. I started reading another because this is a series. Altered Reflections is book 2 of the Artificial Trilogy series, and this just came out. And I got it before he did. Man, I need some signed copies. I want to start this series because I think I will enjoy it. I mean, imagination out of this world this guy has. Okay, so next. Who do we have next? Start going around this way. Nicole Yard, Not Just Words, Writing is Liberation. Nicole actually, if you look up NicoleYard.com, Nicole has a virtual series. This is one of the first workshops that I would like to develop for the Ink and Inspiration series. So you can see this coming back around hopefully later this year, either as a virtual or in-person experience. I highly encourage you to go check this book out. Again, NicoleYard.com. And Not Just Words, Writing is Liberation is an invitation to reclaim the power of your voice. And that is something that I want us to do, is to remind ourselves of the power of our voice and our storytelling as a collective community of storytellers, but especially as Black people, when our voices are often marginalized or fetishized and not told, as we've talked about earlier, through our own gaze and perspectives and worldview. It is our duty and job to do that work. So continue to do that. All right, guys, I think we're on an ad break right now anyway. Oh, one more person that I want to talk about, and so I can make sure I can highlight this earlier, and that is the seasonal pages. Create some stunning bookmarks. See, the seasonalpages.com. Let's see, focus. There we go. As well as on social media, the seasonal pages. So we'll be displaying these bookmarks. And there will be some other bookish things for display. I'll be bringing in some favorites from my collection this year. such as some favorite books that I've read that I would recommend to readers, such as The Affinity Theory. I will be bringing Gloria Deem's books because I want to do my part and put her on display. Glory does not need my promotion, right? Glory has a following of hundreds of thousands. And when Glory's books hit the shelf, we go run to them, right? But what she does still need, and what Black women writers will always need, is you to read their stories, hear their voices, learn from them. And honestly, her work is I feel like it's for me. It's for me to be seen, for me, one of the reasons I love Toni Morrison so much is because she gives me the language, the vision, and the confidence to fully express myself 100% when I go out into this crazy world. And I think Gloria is doing that work with her anthologies and collections. I mentioned this earlier during the interview with Kai Jackson. Glory's work. Let me hide this because y'all can't even see what I'm pointing to in my little background here. Oh, goodness. There we go. This book, Well Read Black Girl, it's an anthology of essays and stories around other Black writer peers finding their voices, their stories, and discovering themselves. This is the first book from Gloria Deem, founder of the Well Read Black Girl Book Club. You can follow Gloria Deem at Gloria Deem, but I highly encourage you to follow the club at Well Read Black Girl. She just had her first meeting of the new book club, Close Read. And I think it's not inked in stone, but I may be hosting the next meeting for James by Everett Percival. So I'm bringing all of her books. Well Read Black Girl. Where are the other ones? Hold on. Give me a minute. Oh, I'm currently reading, I'm finishing up some notes for review. Where is it? There she is. Okay. So I have all of Glory's books, even some that she's contributed to. So she has On Girlhood. That Baltimore accent really just sometimes, especially when my mouth is dry. I told you guys that earlier. So On Girlhood, 15 stories from the Well Read Black Girl Library. Well Read Black Girl, and then the latest one, Gather Me, a memoir in praise of the stories that raised me. This was the first Close Read book club read for February. The next one is going to be James. I'm going to be diligently, even though I did not have this in the schedule this weekend, I need to write a review because on one of these, some of them, all of them, because Glory's book just got banned by the Department of Defense. Y'all know I read banned books. That campaign, we're all about it here at Books and Bounty. This is not fantastical. This is not whatever you want to say. I don't know what label you want to use. DI, critical race theory. This is just Black people, Black women showing themselves, right? And around books. The first sentence in the synopsis asks us, remember that moment when you first encountered a character who seemed to be written just for you? Right? Written for us. Written for Black women. Written for those Black women and Black young girls on those military installations, in those libraries, in those military schools, who can no longer access this. This, I find, is a personal affront to silence my voice. Too personal to me, right? I felt this a visceral reaction when hearing this news. So do my part as best. We're going to be getting together some folks, like-minded individuals in the DMV area, to talk more about how we can counteract this downright white supremacist movement that's going on right now. I don't know how else to more plainly put it. People are always nationalists. No, it's white supremacists, okay? When you are focusing on specifically silencing Black and brown voices, when you are using, I feel like, the United States as a daggone guinea pig in some sort of product development agile cycle, like sprint cycle, like what is going on, right? When you are using Black and brown bodies as PR in your whole campaign around immigration, that what can we do to counteract that? I know where my talents lie, right? And so I'm getting my people together to figure out what we can do. What I can do right now, even my little small piece, is that Gloria Dean's books will be at the Black Wall Street Expo on display at the Traveling Book Nook. With that, you guys, I need to take a break before Donnie Glover will be here around 1 o'clock. Donnie Glover is the host of is the CEO and founder, publisher of BeMoreNews.com, as well as the CEO of DMG Global Marketing. Tomorrow, I've been talking about this all day. Make sure you guys go to BeMoreNews.com to find out, or you can go directly to get tickets at Black Wall Street Expo 2025.eventbrite.com. Put in the chat now. So it's Black Wall Street 2025.eventbrite.com. Students are free. General admission starts at $5. All right, everybody, I'm going to turn on you guys while I am refilling my tea and preparing some other things. You can listen to the cool chill follow sounds. I didn't say that right. To the cool lo-fi sounds of chill hop music. They have a generous content creator licensing program. Make sure you tell them Books and Bounty sent you when you go check them out at chillhopmusic.com. All right, everyone. Let's see. I'm going to put the music on. I thought I had already queued up the play, and it didn't play. All right, we'll be back just a little bit before 1. Again, we will be joined by Donnie Glover, host of BeMoreNews.com, host of the Emmy-nominated Be More. I need to just take a break, right? I am getting tongue-tied. So next at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, coming up here on Desk Time with Books and Bounty, we will be sitting with Donnie Glover, CEO and publisher of BeMoreNews.com, home of the Emmy-nominated Donnie Glover Show. He's also hosting the Black Wall Street Expo 2025 tomorrow, 10 to 3 at the Downtown Cultural Arts Center here in Baltimore, Maryland, where you can find the Traveling Book Nook. Come meet your new favorite author, as well as enjoy great panels and experiences like Abel the Flute Maker, a fashion show, and learn how to write a book. All right, guys, I see you back in about 10 to 15 minutes. So I'll be moving things around on screen. Don't mind me getting ready for our next guest. I hope you stick around. In the meantime, the chat is live and open. So come on over to Twitch and chat with me. I would love to see what you're working on, what you're reading, what's in your TBR list for March. What are you doing this weekend? Any fun engagements? I can't believe I got up and did spoke open mic, y'all. I really have not been maybe 12 years since I was in an open mic. I used to work part-time as a barista for Peace and a Cup of Joe downtown on Pratt Street. Mark Evans and the crew used to have a open mic there. It was wonderful. It was so much fun. And I was talking about the last poem I actually wrote was a lullaby for when Jaden was born. So I have not written a formal piece of poetry in so long. So anyway, let me know if there's any good events that I should hit up over the next couple of days. I have a few things that I'm going to be talking about next week. We'll be putting up some literary event reviews as well as book reviews in the upcoming days. But today and tomorrow, it's all about the Black Wall Street Expo 2025. And there's a way. Oh, for y'all still listening in, I got some good news. We're going to celebrate Tuesday night. On Instagram, just reached 500 followers. Shout out to audio.afrofuturism for being the 500th follower of Books and Bounty on Instagram. Woo-hoo! Hey Eddie D, how are you? I was talking to you earlier about you earlier. I'm sorry, I'm just seeing the chat here. I am just coming back from a bit of a break. Earlier, we had Kai Jackson, Emmy Award-winning news anchor and journalist here from Baltimore, Maryland. Right now, he is an anchor on WBFF Fox 45 News Baltimore. But we talked to him about not only his legacy, but some of his upcoming endeavors in storytelling around Black Yard Grill. So Eddie D writes, you met Eddie D a few weeks ago when he was here on Books and Bounty Live. We also had The Infinity Theory, book 1 of the Infinity Saga, part of a reading marathon where I read a book live and gave my immediate reaction. He was in the chat engaging. It was a wonderful feedback loop. So thanks for joining in the chat. This is a great reminder for folks who are now listening in on Instagram or other streaming platforms Make sure that you are viewing and following and subscribing on Twitch to fully engage in a lively chat room experience, to chat one-on-one with authors like Eddie D. Williams, known as Eddie D. Writes, on multiple social media platforms, and to ask your questions of the guests. Next, we'll have Donnie Glover. Donnie Glover is the CEO and publisher of BeMoreNews.com, and he's going to join me to talk about Black Wall Street Expo 2025, where the traveling Book Nook will be featuring other authors. We'll be featuring your best next author, as well as some bookish gifts and stationery from the seasonal pages and more. We'll talk the business of media, as well as how do you continue to strive towards service journalism and community journalism in today's new media business model. And we'll explore the importance of, again, continuing that conversation like we had with Kai around the particular importance and priority of news media organizations should work to prioritizing community and service journalism, especially prioritizing community and service journalism for communities like Baltimore. We are known as, quote, a city of neighborhoods. So we really need reporters, the news, other journalists, and our storytellers to be engaged and connected with our people. I'm giving you today, bringing to you two outstanding journalists from Baltimore, Maryland, who are doing just that, keeping their boots to the ground and staying connected to the people. And next up, we'll have Donnie Glover. And as soon as he's available in the virtual studio, we'll bring him in. For now, let's see what's going on in the chat. Step over, see who's on other platforms. Jaleesa Whitley of Book Trips joined. I don't know if she is still there, but thank you for joining. Jaleesa Whitley is the owner and founder and CEO of Book Trips, luxury travel inspired, with like-minded women, fully immersive experiences. I mean, and Jaleesa is doing a daggone thing. Those trips are selling out like hotcakes. When we met Jaleesa last fall, she was just coming off of a trip from, I forget where she was. I don't know if it was Japan or Korea, but she was scouting new locations, right? But they've done trips, and they have upcoming trips this year in Colombia. They're doing Trevor Noah's book. They're going to South Africa. When last year we talked about homegoing, Yagiasi's homegoing and the corresponding trip to Ghana. And this year, Jaleesa just announced scholarships for women who would like to be a part of this experience, but may not always have the means. And I think the trip is covered. You still have to cover your own travel. But shout out to Jaleesa and Book Trips. Let's see who else here. Marvin Studio Gallery, thank you for joining on Instagram. And in the chat, we have Matt still here with Sublines Pride Media and Eddie D. Williams. What are y'all talking about? Let's see. First chapter struggles. I must finish the first chapter. It has to be complete and perfect before I can move on to any others. Matt is dealing with that right now. Any tips for how he can get out of that rut? I say just move on and come back to it. It's like writing the first paragraph of that essay, or do an offshoot. You know what I mean? Let it digress. Let you get it out, because I think that's some of the things blocking you, is that you have all these other things that it's inspiring. Take a moment, get through it, put it all on the side, parking lot it, right? See if it helps you clear up. Well, this is dark humor, Sarah Tight, and I've had to change things because people were, we were talking about that. Seeing things that weren't there. Rise the whole beginning after 9 chapters in. Character is that's the author talking. Eddie D puts in the chat about his experience writing a book, and how you get to a point and you get some you get some constructive feedback that inspires you to change something you wrote. And he said his characters argue with him hard and said, no, this isn't us. Redo it now. Just looking at my show notes. I think that's all. Y'all want to see, we just got finished with the interview with Kai Jackson. And y'all bear with us. Donnie Glover is a busy man. Tomorrow is the expo, so I'm sure people are running him rampant. I even have some questions that I'm not going to post to him. I'm going to post to somebody else because he's got too much stuff on his mind, but we're going to figure it out. But he should be here shortly. Let me check my phone, make sure. I'm going to call him because he wanted me to actually call. Put y'all on mute real quick. 10:23. Tomorrow, February 22nd, from 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time at the Downtown Cultural Arts Center here in Baltimore, Maryland. We will be live streaming from the Traveling Book Nook booth. Make sure you stop by. Tickets are free for students, $5 for general admission. I'll also be sitting on the panel on how to write your book, hosted by David Miller, acclaimed children's book author. Abu the Flute Maker will be there giving a workshop, and it will be ending in a culminating fashion show. It's plans to be a grand time. Come get a view of Black excellence here in Baltimore at the Black Wall Street Expo 2025. Happy reading and writing, everyone. Until then, I will see you later. And yes, I'm glad you're going to be watching when you go live. So I can't guarantee my session will be live. I get you a ticket for that one. But we will be live streaming from the booth. So you guys will be able to see folks interacting with your work. They'll be able to give shout outs, etc. The chat will be live. Of course, I will not be in the booth from 11 to about 12-ish while I am on the panel. But the fellow will be live and in the booth manning the station while I'm not there. I think the team has to work, so they won't be at this expo. But happy writing and reading, everyone. I need to go. I got tons of stuff to do today as well. Thank you for sticking around, for turning the page with Desk Time with Steph. I got all the titles mixed up. Thank you for sticking around with Desk Time with Steph, where on Fridays we stream during the day. You can always catch us every Tuesday night at 10 Eastern Standard Time, where I bring to you live interviews from emerging artists, authors, and bookish business, as well as live book reviews, giveaways, and more. You have a good afternoon and happy writing and reading.